Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are talking about one of the topic that is city creation. City creation basically we are talking one of the topic that is India account. In this basically we are going to talk about one topic that is one person told that how basically software industry basically gets the data that you have to dump your data near this head basically. Then one person told that basically, for example, if in the near this head basically the entire software company basically, for example, one crore entire means entire software company. They are telling that basically here basically they have got the permission to dump their data. So one person told that in that basically, as in that there are 1 crore project basically near this basically. 1 crore project means you can just understand this to create one project basically how many members are used, more than 1,000 basically, big project I am talking about. So here basically 1 crore projects are basically there. So one person told that this is basically how they decides basically, as in that this is the head part. So for head part they created 1 crore. For hand part basically they used 1 crore project. For leg part basically they used 1 crore project. So the project basically it would be same project, but the data basically might be different basically, because you can't create the CRM project in different ways. Different way means that example also basically we had take. There are assume that basically 37 ways basically of the CRM project, 37 ideas that basically we have already discussed. So you can create 37 ideas basically. So you have to dump here 37 ideas also. That is the 37 types of CRM basically. But the main CRM will be here basically. That will be going to chain basically. How basically that they only knows basically. So here basically 37 chains basically are there basically of CRM project. So one of the person told that now basically we will take, this is basically the simple thing basically that everybody knows. That is the, for example, hand part basically in hand the 1 crore project basically has to take create here basically the 1 crore projects are basically there, and in 1 crore project basically the energies basically are of the software industry, software energy. So one of the person told that it's like that. So like this basically each and every body parts basically contains the software industry's data. So one person told that how they decides, how software industry basically decides that software industry basically have the rights basically. They told that basically we want in head part, so they basically will say that basically yes basically that is not possible. So that basically connects to this algorithm, that is this 0 to 100 age people. That means 0 to 100 means they basically never got birth and their basically process basically started in birth basically. So that from that to 100-year age people basically, then basically the 100 age to 200 age peoples, then basically 200 to 300 peoples, then basically from like this basically, like this 300 to 1 lakh age peoples. So this is one thing basically. So now here basically one of the person told that how basically software industry gets the data, and they gets the data that here basically you have to dump that 1 crore projects. So that 1 crore projects basically which they are getting to do basically for the head part, they gets data from where basically? That is the this group basically. For example, 300 to 400 age people basically, they do the process of their data that is the blood cells, and their data basically are passed to the 200 to 300, then 200 to 300, then 100 to 200, then 0 to 100. So like this basically the reverse order basically the data are basically get. I will take one example. 900 to 1000 do people age people basically do the process. I am talking about the software industry basically. Here basically the thousand sorry, software energies basically are here basically, and in software energy basically there are 1 crore projects basically. So that 1 crore projects, how they gets basically the data, and what that data basically contain, that basically I'm talking. So 900 to 1000 age people have done their process. So after completion of process basically, whatever the error, repeating the word, error and solution of that error, and if solution basically can't find, then the error only basically. So which kind of data basically they are passing? Errors, solutions of these errors, then basically the all solved data, that is the all solved database, means whatever process basically they have done, all solved data, that is the process done data. So these are the three data basically which they pass, because they can't pass directly the confirmed data basically. It might possible that all solved data basically, whatever data basically they have processed, but it's not possible that basically entire data basically which are processed, that would be correct only, because 98 percentage, even Microsoft basically will say that basically our product is 98 percentage basically, not 100%, because not 99 also basically. So one of the person told that, see the chain basically. So from how they gets the data, that basically is the today's dangerous topic, and this is going to connect to 1 lakh age people also basically. Just see basically now what are the things going to happen now. How software industry basically gets the data of this 1 crore project basically. That is the topic basically. And from how they got the data basically, that is the topic, biggest topic basically. So here basically what we have discussed, 900 to 1000 age people basically done the process. In that process basically they got error basically, then basically the solved error data basically, then basically the all solved data basically. All solved data means all data basically are solved, and that is not possible basically. But then also basically we can't, because there are lots of people basically who gets 100 out of 100 basically in the subjects, any subject basically. We can't say that basically, we can say, but in language basically nobody can get up to that level and mark, that is 100 after 100. That basically why, that basically is the question basically. So one of the percentile, you can get 100 after 100 in mathematics, you can get 100 after 100 in accounts, you can get 100 after 100 in statistic. So that is also possible basically, that without processing the data, without any error, somebody basically process the data, that is also possible. So you have to pass that data also basically. So they have passed from 900 to 1000 age people basically done the process, and these three data basically they have found, they passed it to 800 to 900 people. Like this basically data is processing, then basically the data comes to 0 to 100, 0 to 100, 0 to 100. So another person told that 0 to 100 age people gets the data, and that data basically is given by the, this all data basically who gives. One of the person told that 1 lakh age people basically gets data from where basically, processing data basically, that is the nuclear power company only basically, and energy company and the power company basically, they gets the data basically. So this all data basically gets processed. 0 to 100 age basically data are given to the employees, sorry, then these all are employees only basically, earth planet employee basically you can say. So here basically the 1 crore projects data basically are given to the software company basically. So you can just imagine basically how dangerous stuff is, how dangerous the stuff is. So one person told that how basically this 1 lakh age people basically might be getting the data here basically. That is actually very dangerous thing basically. Because 1 crore data basically from where they are getting the basically. So the depthness, see basically the depthness basically. From where the data basically are they are getting basically. The data basically are passed from 1 lakh age people basically to 0 to 1,000 age basically. So you can just imagine basically how dangerous the world is already created. So one person told that the 1 lakh age people basically who passed the data now basically it is 100 here basically I can add 100%. It is going to pass to 0 to 100 age people 100% basically. They are never going to ignore that data. So one day the data is going to pass to 0 to 100 age, and this data basically are going to connect to the 1 crore projects basically. Here basically I have taken the example of 1 crore. In really basically it can be anything, any number basically. It can be any number. So one of the person told that the world is already created, the process system is already created, the nuclear company are already created, the energy company are already created, the power companies are already created. Data is 100% going to pass to 0 to 100 age from 1 lakh age. So one of the person told that this everything is already done basically. So one of the person told that this is the source basically from where the 1 lakh, sorry, so this is the source basically from where the 1 crore project basically are requirement basically are collected basically, and they basically do the projects, and then basically the projects are basically done. So you can just imagine basically how the projects are also basically getting. So one of the person told that the projects basically they are going to get now basically that requirement also basically few software company might be doing. That's like TCS, Infosys, the big level software company like Capgemini, eClearX. This whole group basically know that basically that this type of project basically they are going to get. This type of projects basically they are going to get. So you can just imagine because they are up to that level powerful basically, because they know this everything basically. That data basically are getting from 1 lakh age people basically. The people like eClearX, they basically know that data basically we get na basically that project basically we do, that basically are data coming from the 1 lakh age people basically. So the projects basically which the software companies basically are doing, for example, around 5 crore employees are there. They are basically doing 1 crore projects basically. So that data basically the process of the each and every conditions basically whatever conditions basically they are getting the basically they getting from this everything. For example, if condition they got, if this is the grade then basically this is the salary, if this is the grade then this is the salary. This everything basically they gets from this 1 lakh age people basically. So you can just imagine basically the data which has passed from 1 lakh age, that is 100% basically going to come to 0 to 100 age. So this is basically called as a chaining sequence. Few people told that basically the world has ended 101 time basically, right? 101 time the world has ended, and currently basically the world which is ongoing, they are getting the ideas from 1 lakh, sorry, 101 time age ended people. From 100 people only basically we can say, because sand basically or tree basically can think. No, basically they can't think. Human only basically can think. So from there basically the ideas basically which we are getting just now basically, they are getting from there basically. So you can just imagine the person basically who is into the cheap process now basically, how dangerous task basically he has started, and he basically done the advertising also basically across the world also basically. That is the main thing basically. But one thing is confirmed basically, if he will success, if he will get the success, then he will be the most dangerous person in the world. He will be the most dangerous person and the most powerful person in the world basically. That basically mark my word basically. If he will get the success, but he basically have to remember this everything basically. That it's very dangerous thing basically which he is doing. Very dangerous basically. Not basically you can say dangerous only. You can say infinity dangerous. That data basically are processed, and that data basically are created by the software companies, and that 1 crore projects basically which is created, then human needs created from that 1 crore projects. So assume that basically tomato and potato has created from that 1 crore projects, that tomato and potato basically is consumed by the human needs basically, and that human people basically, the human people basically will take that potato and tomato and use it in human needs, that is in the food process, and then again the data get processed. After that basically the 1 crore software energy basically is received to the human body parts. So you can just imagine how dangerous. So the process basically which he is going to do now basically in this brain basically, as here I have taken the example of brain. Here I have taken the example of brain basically. So that is the process. And here in 0 to 100 age basically, the nuclear power company and energy company, they groups are connected with which basically, they basically don't enter into individual house basically. They enters through mobile, they enters through SMS, they enters through power data, they enters through speaker, they enters through laptops, they enters through lights, they enters through fan, they enters through bed, they enters through shirts, they enter through t-shirts, they enters through each and every basically item basically which human needs are basically. So you can replace the everything basically from to human needs basically, which human need is touching. For example, this is the speaker basically, right? So I am touching this, so this comes into the, so this also basically comes into this data. So one of the person told that, yeah, if he will get success basically, he will connect 100%, he will connect to this 1 lakh age people basically. And he will be the most powerful person and the most rich person, reachable person basically we can say. And whatever person basically he might be basically. So here basically we are not discussing that basically how rich he is, but that's very the dangerous thing basically. So 1 lakh age people are passing the data to 0 to 100. So I am getting the data now basically, which I am getting the data, that is basically came from 1 lakh age people basically. You can't imagine basically. And here basically, for example, I am currently basically not working, so I am not into the here basically the software basically which is ongoing. So here basically I am not into that. So assume that basically currently around 5 crore people basically are working into some project basically, live projects basically. That data basically, that live projects basically are going to dump in any of the body parts basically, any of the one of the body parts, basically they are going to dump that data. So you can just imagine, yeah, the dangerous thing basically world has already created basically. And if you want to save the world, then basically this is the only way basically you can save the world basically, because world is already ended 101 time basically. World has already ended 101 time. So you can just imagine. Few people says that this is the only way like world basically can be handled. So one of the person told, one of the software company person told that this currently basically the entire software companies are doing the 1 crore projects, that is on the base of certain level of data. So you can just imagine basically how the world has reached. How the world has reached. And this basically is a way the project is ongoing. So 1 crore project basically currently the world is on doing the project. The software professionals are doing basically. Software professionals are designing the projects. CEO, vice president, and the directors basically, and the company owners basically are designing the projects. They are basically doing the projects on the base of that data basically. You can just imagine basically. So one of the person told them they are getting the data right basically on the base of certain level of data basically. So entire, so this basically connects to the data science project basically. One of the person told that there is many software company basically they are into the data science project of which projects basically, do you know, the collecting through the requirement basically. For example, there are 1,000 CRM project basically. So this is one data science basic project, that there are 1,000 projects basically of the CRM basically, not the CRM data science project basically. I am talking about 1,000 CRM projects are there. So data science companies there basically who is telling that basically there are 1,000 CRM projects basically. So there are many companies basically who are collecting the set of requirements of the projects basically. For example, 1,000 CRM projects are there. They know that basically that 1,000 CRM project basically is ongoing, and they basically are into the data science project basically. Data science project of which, that is of 1 crore project basically, which is going to come, and which is already came basically, that also basically is the one of the data science project. Because see, whatever project basically you are doing, that status also basically has to be maintained. For example, software delivery head basically, they basically have 1,000 project. He basically is handling 1,000 projects. Under him basically around 100 project managers are there. So that 100 project managers basically are reporting to that software delivery head, and they are doing the projects basically. So like this basically is handling, he is maintaining the status now basically, that this is the project. One person asked the question, one of the businessmen basically asked the question, by what is the status of this project? So he basically have to give the answer, yeah, this is the project currently basically they are doing this module basically is already finished, this module is basically on the testing mode, this project is this module is basically on the UTC mode, this module is basically is already completed, this thing basically we have already done. And few things basically are in the um, integration mode basically, of certain level of modules integration is ongoing, and they basically have done into the, not into the live environment, you can say as a UAT environment basically. So after everything is project complete is, then basically we are going to dump into the live environment basically. So you can just imagine this, everything is connected with the software industry only basically. So 1 crore project basically we are getting the basically. Here basically 1 crore projects basically a software data is there. That is basically coming from so far basically, we can just imagine. 1 lakh age people basically are passing data to the 0 to 100 year age. So one of the person told that there are many nuclear power company basically who do the process of age people. Because if you are in Earth planet, then your data are basically going to process from nuclear power company only. Because this way only basically the world has created. Few people say that satellite basically are there, but satellite also basically can't control, can't basically connect to directly to the human body basically, because it's very dangerous basically. That's why basically the nuclear power companies are basically created. So one of the person told that how many nuclear power companies are there in India basically who is doing this type of process. So in next video basically we are going to see that dangerous